Hello, and welcome to this introduction demonstration of Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, or also known as Amazon EC2. In this demonstration, you learn to set up and launch a new Amazon EC2 instance. An instance refers to a virtual server in the AWS cloud. With Amazon EC2, you set up and configure your operating system and the applications that will run on your instance. The instance we're going to set up in this demo will be a Linux server. To begin, log into the AWS Management Console and type EC2 into the search bar. Select the EC2 service to load the EC2 console. The EC2 dashboard defaults, providing you with an overview of key information regarding your compute resources in the selected region. From the EC2 dashboard, locate the Launch Instance pane and choose Launch Instance. Then choose Launch Instance from the Options drop-down list. The single-page Launch an Instance setup form will display. Provide a descriptive name for your instance. In this example, the instance will be named blog01. Additionally, descriptive tags can be added for your instance. Next, under Application and OS Images, we'll use Quick Start Amazon Linux for the operating system for the instance. Then under Amazon Machine Image, or AMI, we'll leave the default hardware virtual machine, HVM, version of Amazon Linux 2 selected, since it's a free tier eligible. An AMI is a basic configuration that serves as a template for your instance. Moving down to instance type, from the instance type list, you can select the configuration for your instance. This defines the CPU, memory, storage, and networking capacity for your instance. If you are unsure which instance type will best suit your application's needs, choose the Compare Instance Types link to view the details for each instance type. For our demo blog web server, the T2 micro instance will work great, so we'll leave the default. Continuing our setup, under key pair, choose Create New Key Pair. A key pair is a set of security credentials that you use to prove your identity when connecting securely to an EC2 instance. EC2 stores the public key on the instance, while you keep and store the private key. You'll need this private key to connect to your instance. For name, enter a descriptive name for the key pair, for example, blog01. For key pair type, choose RSA. For private key file format, choose the format to save the private key in. To connect to your instance with OpenSSH, choose PEM for the format. To connect with PuTTY, choose PPK. Then create the key pair. The private key file is automatically downloaded in your browser. Save the file in a safe place. Okay, now we're ready to take a look at a few network settings. First, notice the defaults. You see that the default VPC is assigned. When you create your AWS account, a default VPC is created in each region for you. A VPC, or virtual private cloud, enables you to define a virtual network in your own logically isolated area within the AWS cloud. Your default VPC is already configured and ready for you to use. For example, a default subnet for each availability zone is already created, an internet gateway is attached to your default VPC, and there's a route in the main route table that sends all traffic to the internet gateway. These are all settings you need if you were setting up a web server. With the default VPC selected, notice the subnet is set to no preference, meaning AWS will choose which availability zone to assign. We'll edit this setting in just a moment and see how we can manually choose which AZ to place the instance in. Also notice that when you launch an instance in your default VPC, the auto-assign public IP is enabled by default. You need the public IP address if you are setting up a public blog server, for example, so that it's reachable from the internet. Okay, let's review a few security group settings. The instance wizard will default to create a new security group and provide a name for you. Here you can see the name Launch Wizard 5 is provided. At a minimum, you likely want to restrict where SSH traffic can come from by assigning only your IP or a custom range of IP addresses to be allowed over SSH port 22 to connect to your instance. From here, you can also choose to allow HTTPS and HTTP traffic. So let's customize some of these settings for your new instance. Under Network Settings, choose Edit. First, choose which VPC your EC2 instance will run in. If you have created your own VPC, it will be available in the VPC list to choose from. Here we are choosing a custom VPC versus the default. Once you change the VPC, select the desired subnet. Notice that the auto-assign public IP field is no longer automatically enabled. Since this instance will run a public web server, we'll change this back to enabled. To recap, so far we're choosing our custom VPC, a public subnet in the US East 1A availability zone, and have auto-assign public IP enabled for the instance. For security group, choose to create a new security group, but change the name to blog01. In the description field, provide a brief description, such as blog01 demo. Now we'll change the source for SSH access to my IP. This will restrict access over port 22 for only this IP address. Let's also go ahead and add access for HTTP traffic over port 80 to be allowed from anywhere. This is because our instance will be used for a public blog server. Configure the root volume and add additional storage volumes as needed. Review a summary of your instance configuration in the summary panel on the right. If all looks good, then choose Launch Instance. A confirmation page displays letting you know that your instance is launching. Scroll down and choose View All Instances. On the Instances screen, you can view the status of the launch. Here you can see our instance is running and a public IP and DNS name have been assigned. It is ready for use. This completes our demonstration on setting up an Amazon EC2 instance. Thank you for watching.